Hello everyone and welcome back to another character analysis. In this video I'm going to be talking about Lauma and her leadership of the Frostmoon Scions, as I believe she's very suited to be the leader and I feel like it's a very important part of her character. I really hope you enjoy! Political philosophies have existed since the earliest cities, and among the most influential ones have to be those by Plato and Aristotle. Hence why I thought it would be interesting to apply their philosophies to Lauma and the Frostmoon Scions, and specifically to the questions, what makes Lauma such a good and reliable leader? And did her withholding the truth about the moon affect that? Notcry's political context. As we know, Notcry is an autonomous, independent territory that consists of several factions that all congregate there. Since Notcry is kind of a lawless land, these factions can pretty much abide by their own rules. The Frostmoon Scions are one of these factions, and they worship Kutar, the moon goddess. Since this faction is largely based around religion, the people in control are also the priests, such as Lauma. Since Lauma has been blessed with extraordinary abilities to sense the moon, she became the Moonchanter. The Moonchanter is a figure people trust and look to for guidance. Thus, we can see Lauma as the leader of the Frostmoon Scions. But it's not just her sacred abilities and sense of duty that made her a leader, it's her traits and qualities that really qualify her to be one, and that make her so reliable. Lauma's qualities. When we first meet Lauma, she and the Frostmoon Scions are giving away food in Nasha Town, already showing the boundless kindness of the faction. When two Fatui come to the stand and start taunting them, Lauma remains calm and de-escalates the situation, despite the fact that Philomena got angry at the Fatui soldiers. She even insists the two receive food too. This already shows that Lauma is able to remain level-headed even when being met with disrespect. On the other hand, despite her kindness, she is still firm and won't let them walk all over her, which is essentially clear when the same Fatui pay a visit to the Frostmoon Enclave and give them an ultimatum that's essentially just a thinly veiled threat. She is a deeply kind person, but if this kindness is not returned, she can be firm and she will protect her land and her people. We also see that Lauma is self-sacrificial, yet afraid that people will abuse this trait. Her powers give her the ability to heal others with her blood, and Traveler notes that she has many cuts on her hands, implying she has done this often. Yet, people do not know about this power and she takes care not to show it to anyone else. This is mainly because she has seen the way people treat Kutar, and she realizes that it could isolate her and also make the Frostmoon Scions overly reliant on her. Aristotle about leadership and politics. I think the qualities that Lauma has fit in very well with the things Aristotle describes in his works, particularly Nicomachean ethics and politics. Aristotle is known for his vices and virtues, where he argues that in order to be a good man, there's a mean for all virtues, but also an excess or a deficiency. In order to reach the mean, the virtues must be cultivated. The qualities that Lauma possesses, that I named earlier, are actually ones Aristotle named too. Firstly, Lauma's kindness, or friendliness, for instance. Too much friendliness would mean you're obsequious, which essentially means you let people walk all over you or butter people up. In the context of Lauma, this would mean she would let the Fatui do whatever they wanted instead of standing up to them. On the other side of the spectrum, too little friendliness means you're argumentative and bad-tempered. You can argue, then, that Lauma shows a perfect amount of friendliness to the Fatui that want to take over Hisi Island. But also in the case of the Frostmoon Scions, she can be seen as virtuous. She does not want her people to heavily rely on her, but she will also not brush them off, even if they make mistakes or betray the Scions, such as Philomena or others who have decided to leave the Enclave. Another trait that Lauma has that can be seen as a virtue is her patience or good temper. The excess of this is irascibility, which means you get angered easily, while a deficiency is never getting angry or riled up, even when you should. Lauma does not let her emotions get the best of her, but she can be firm if needed, and will not just sit by idly if someone is treated unfairly. She even vowed to herself never to let wrath take over her, which is why she's typically so calm. Since the Frostmoon Scions see her as a symbol for the Moon Maiden, she serves as a role model, and that is a role meant to be taken seriously according to Aristotle, and one that is their duty and should be their desire. He says, "This is confirmed by what happens in states, where legislators make the citizens good by forming habits in them, and this is the wish of every legislator, and those who do not affect it miss their mark, and it is in this that a good constitution differs from a bad one." But being a good leader is not all about being virtuous or a good person, and Aristotle talks about something else a leader must do for their community: act according to the common good. I definitely think Lauma tries her best to do this, even if it sometimes makes her forget about herself. Lauma is aware of the fact that her position is a very influential one, and that anything she says can be taken as gospel by the Scions. That's why she tries her best not to lie. She strives to take care of all the people and animals on the island, yet believes they should be able to take care of themselves too. This ties into Aristotle's beliefs that the goal of nations or communities is to reach a perfect and self-sufficient life. For the will to live together is friendship. The end of a state is a good life, and these are the means towards it. Lauma makes the decision, for instance, to keep the truth about the moon a secret. Although she feels uncomfortable about it, she feels that revealing the secret may not be in everyone's best interest, at least not until the time is right. Though, when we meet Wilhelmina again at the Fatui's Experimental Design Bureau and Lauma realizes she betrayed the Frostmoon Scions, she quickly realizes that the truth is always better, even if it might take some readjusting, and that it will lead to more fulfillment and therefore is in favor of the common good. The fake moon. Let's dive deeper into the secret of the moon that Lauma kept hidden for so long. Since Lauma has such a strong connection to the frost moon, she was able to sense that the moon that is visible in the sky is not the real one. But keeping this a secret and letting her people pray to a false moon weighed heavily on her consciousness. She even said that she felt like her life was as hidden from sight as the dark side of the moon, and people only looked to the bright side of the moon for guidance. That is to say that Lauma only showed one side of herself, the devoted Moonchanter who fulfills her duty and guides the people. After Wilhelmina's betrayal of the Scions, she realizes she should tell the truth. The moon that is visible in the sky is not the frost moon, and it's actually further beyond. She feels relieved after revealing the truth and says that she's finally living on the bright side of the moon. The truth is now illuminated. In a way, you could argue that Lauma keeping this secret for so long compromises her trustworthiness. I could see why, but I will raise another point. The fake moon was still a symbol for the Moon Maiden, in the same way that Lauma is a symbol of hope. Aristotle and Plato about mimesis. That brings me back to Aristotle and Plato, as they talk about a concept called mimesis, which basically means imitation or representation. This concept is usually applied to art, but let's apply it to this iconography of the moon for the sake of argument. As we know by now, the moon that we see in Tevat's sky is not the real moon, and the actual frost moon lies further beyond the visible sky. Still, the Frostmoon Scions took the moon that they could see as the actual frost moon, and they prayed to it too. Well, according to Plato, this fake moon led them further away from the actual truth. In a way, this is true, as the people blindly believed that this moon was the frost moon, and they had no reason to question it, and therefore no reason to pursue the truth about it either. You could say that this is caused by Lauma, considering she did not tell her people about it. It's reminiscent of Plato's allegory of the cave. This allegory depicts people sitting in a cave that get shown images in the form of shadows, but have never seen the real objects, yet believe that what they are seeing is reality. In order to find the truth, according to Plato, they must go out of the cave and pursue it themselves through philosophy and rationality. Plato even says that leaving the cave would be difficult at first, and if a person who left the cave were to go back inside to convince the others of the truth, they would likely not succeed. Lauma, then, could be considered as a person who already left the cave and found the truth. in this case, the truth about the moon. Lauma knows that telling the truth could have consequences, and the people may not listen to her or they might feel betrayed. Still, Plato would argue that Lauma, as a leader, should re-enter the cave, even if the darkness of the cave, and I guess the moon, hurts her eyes. And have we not decided that our rulers must neither be so uneducated as to have no fixed rule of life, nor so overeducated as to be unwilling to leave their paradise for the business of the world? Plato basically says that rulers must not be ignorant, but must also not become so sure of their knowledge that they are able to deem those in the cave as mere fools and leave them there. Basically, Lauma should seek the truth of the moon, but she shouldn't just assume that the Frostmoon Scions would not understand. It is true that some of the Frostmoon Scions left when they heard the truth, but many others felt enlightened and relieved and were willing to pave the road of truth with Lauma. I believe that Plato would see this as the right course of action right from the start. She should not even have hesitated. That is the way to serve the common good that both Plato and Aristotle believed in. So, Plato believed that mimesis could never lead to the truth, and therefore that praying to that fake moon could never lead them to the actual moon goddess. However, Aristotle actually argued against this. According to him, mimesis is a tool of education that can help people to understand and engage with the world around them. In that way, we can justify Lauma's lack, as the Frostmoon Scions were able to see the fake moon as a symbol for their moon goddess, and were able to understand the prayers and rituals in this way. Still, Aristotle did actually say that becoming aware of mimesis, especially in art, is what gives us pleasure or fulfillment. Even in this way, we'll still come to the conclusion that telling the truth is for the better. Now that the Scions are aware of the truth, they can come to understand and investigate this fake moon and discover what the relation is between the real and the fake Frostmoon. And that is where the education comes from. Aristotle says that in order for the imitation to bring us pleasure, we must know about the actual object, and if one happens to not have seen the thing before, it will not give pleasure as an imitation, but because of its execution or color or for some other reason. Now that Lauma told the Frostmoon Scions the truth, they can actually start to fully understand what the moon really is and what it means to them. But for Aristotle, this fake moon can still be regarded, while Plato would find it best to discard it, as far as that is possible, of course. Even though being a good leader might be subjective, I think what Lauma is doing is definitely working, and she has a strong conviction to do what is right. The Frostmoon Scions trust her a lot, and I believe that they will become even more united now that the truth about the moon is out. And since Nodcry is pretty dangerous, I think they will benefit from that. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you did. Also, I recently made a Discord server, so if you're interested in joining, make sure to check the description below. Alright, bye bye!